So as I said, this is what I said basically, where I like to start my presentation saying like what you're going to see. Also, I will share the slides, and we'll find a way to give to all of you, so that way you have access to it. And so what I'm saying in there is that company from giants like Unilever to sector like pharmaceutical or automotive are using, or embracing the potential of AI. We have seen it during COVID. We're seeing it right now with a lot of different companies. And so this changed a little bit the traditional role of PM. So because there is more people in the business that knows about technology. And so if they know about technology, obviously it's not the same approach we need to have. But even if they know about technology, they just know about what they use. So which is not necessarily helpful for what we are trying to do. And this is where we have to find our space. So my goal is that I'm going to take you through 4 parts. So the AI in the business context, which is a bit of history. The new landscape for product management in the AI era. AI and product management, so really how to find our place and drive AI implementation. And finally, the challenges for us. And so a bit about who am I. I've been for more than 15 years like product manager. So I work for different companies like Fujitsu, Michelin. I work in connected cars, lifestyle, HR, bank, insurance. So if you have any question, I think I can answer some of them. I'm seeing that you can't see my picture there, but it's okay. I hope like the other picture are gonna work. And yeah, mobile and SaaS project and AI project. And yeah, as Dinesh was saying, you can find me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. It's the same thing. So the first thing I want to talk about, because it's quite interesting, is about a movie. And it's fun that you talked about movie because it's a perfect thing. I don't know if everybody has seen Minority Report, but you may not know, but basically when they took the book, there was a problem in the book. The world was not expressed, on how the world looked like in Minority Report. And so what they did is that they gathered a bunch of experts on the Silicon Valley and they said, okay, what the world could look like in 2040. And what is interesting is that most of the technology that you see, like OCR, AI, all those kind of things, are starting to appearing now. So it's the same as they predict, just 20 years earlier from what they predicted. And so if you want to see, how technology can be inside our lives and all that, I recommend to go back to this movie. So the next movie night, maybe you can talk about Minority Report, and it will have an attachment to what we do in technology. But it's quite interesting to see that movie, and I use that in my training because generally when we attach the things to movies, people understand it, that people see how it can change their life. And so in the business context, what we have to understand is where we are in time, and we have to understand that because it's something that is not going to change. And what I mean by that is the fact that we are right now in the 4th revolution. So they explain that the 4th industrial revolution is the digital revolution that has been occurring since the middle of the last century. And so if we look at that, what does it mean? It means that the first, revolution that we know is approximately the steam revolution. Then we had the electricity revolution in the 1800s. Then the silicon revolution, where we had all the computers and all that started to come. And finally, we are Internet of Things, networking, AI, which is the 4th revolution. Some people are saying even that now that we are starting the change through AI and we are leveraging more what we put in place, we're even in the 5th revolution. But it's something we have to understand, because what I mean by that is that some people are still looking at AI as a gimmick or as a toy, where in reality, it's a change that is going to change the full industry. So it's something that we have to absorb as professionals, because otherwise, we're going to be left behind. Like a lot of people have been left behind by cloud computing, or have been left behind by IoT, or have been left behind by data. So it's something that we have to approach, and we still have time. And so a 4th industrial revolution, when you look at it, it's a multidimensional transformation, pushing organization to continually reorient and transform themselves to create and maintain a differentiated experience. And this changed a lot of stuff. And this is why, when you look at it, there is a lot of organization that are pushing for this change. And this is totally normal, because there is multiple forces, whether they're economic, societal, or technological. So there is the emergence of new technology, obviously, that we talked about, the rapid development on computational power, and also the costs that are going down, so which means that it's not hard to use it, And there is also a change in consumer expectation. And this is important to recognize because the people we work with are also consumer of, for example, Netflix, or they are a consumer of, certainly AI tools like ChatGPT and all that. And so we need to recognize that, because what it means is that, the commodity that we knew even like 3 years ago is not the commodity that is right now for most of the people. People are not expecting the same from a product that we're building. And the organizations know that, because they are, for most of them, big organization that has been there for 100 years or 50 years, and they're still working on a model that is based on the past and not what it is right now. And so they're trying to transform through that. And so when you look at it, in 2021, digital transformation spending was approximately 1.50 trillion. So I don't even know what represents a trillion, but it's just to give you a number in the world, and it's gonna grow even more in the next years, right? Because you can imagine all the companies, like all the big pharmaceutical, all the big car industry, all the one in oil and gas, all the one in tobacco, all the one in consumer goods, are going to try to evolve to be part also of this economy, because they can't let themselves die. So obviously, companies are making the move inside that. I've worked in the last 2 years in 3 companies that are trying to do digital transformations. But unfortunately, there is a lot about the culture that makes it really hard for them to do this transformation. And so when you look at it, at all those companies that are coming right now, they're being a competitor of a traditional market. When you look at Netflix, they're a competitor, for traditional TV. When you look at Moderna, that didn't exist 15 years ago, they were capable, because of AI, to put a vaccine out in 2 months, and started trialing it. And so Pfizer, for example, that is a direct competition, that is like the traditional behemoth of pharmaceutical, had to partner up with biotech to be able to follow exactly the same principle. So you have all these new companies that are coming, and I put also OpenAI, because when you look at it, OpenAI is completely in competition with Google. Google is a search engine, right? And I'm just taking that as an example. But what they do is that they try to predict what you're looking for, and they give you a choice. Now, the biggest enemy of a search engine is giving you an answer right away. Not giving you a choice for an answer, is giving you an answer right away. And this is why you see like that in the last months, there was, more people using ChatGPT, less people using, the normal Google search, because they were having directly an answer and didn't have to go through, all this hassle to evaluate what was given by Google. And so, which means that all of that, give us a new landscape. And I just wanted to go a bit about history, because I didn't want to go directly about what it means for product management and all that. I just wanted to put that first, because when you look at it, you need to understand the contextual impact. So I talk a lot about context, because the context is something we can't control in our position, right? When you reach a company, you have a lot of product manager or a lot of people that want to be leaders that try to change, the context. They're trying to change how people think. But unfortunately, it's something that we have to deal with. It's not something, unfortunately, that we can change. It's not something we can change the way we want. And most of the pressure that are coming for big companies are coming from the outside. They're not coming from inside the company. If you have your CEO and you're part of a startup, it's coming from investors. It's coming from the market directly telling them, we need to be better, we need to earn money. And all of that is going, and this is why I put the broad external, which is kind of a world, that goes to the organization, so obviously to the management, that goes to the product, that goes to the product creator, that is you. When you look at it, you receive a direct impact from this context. It's just that all the way, we have to understand that, unfortunately, we can't control that. But what we can control, though, is the way we react towards that. And this is why I wanted to show you a bit about the history and what is happening, and how much company, for them, it's a priority to change, because they're forced to change based on what is happening. And so there is an impact of AI in all those rings, that I just showed you. So if you look at the product, you have AI-powered features. So which means that you have enhancing user experience, value with adaptive smart feature. You can think obviously about I take the example of Netflix because it's quite easy. But as I said, when you look at Unilever, for example, they're reducing the time for research. So which means that, a product that was taking like 6 months or a year to be able to come out is taking out like 50% less time. So which means that they can come out with more product to the users because they use AI internally to do this research. There is the evolving skill set of PM. So obviously, it's the same thing as cloud computing or IoT or big data. PM before cloud computing and all that didn't need to take care of that. APIs were not a big thing. You could work without it. But unfortunately, right now, we need to improve our skill set to adopt, AI-driven decision-making and making a shift, in the role that we have. The organizational, obviously, as I said, we need to move, or the company want to move towards a data-first culture, which emphasizes the importance of cross-functional collaboration. So between AI experts, product team, and other department. What you see in organization, as I said, is that people are more aware about what technology can do. So if they are more aware about what technology can do, if they see the technology improving their life every day, they're going to come up towards you, to basically say to you why we can't do that, And we need to have the answer because we are the expert inside the company. We can't be the one that is left behind in terms of technology. We can't be the one that is left behind when we are the one saying that we're the digital leaders inside the company, right? And it's the same for market dynamics, as I said, because of everything that is happening. But there is some strategic implication. And this is something I explain, in my training, is that when you look at it, you are as good as the quality of data that you have. One of the big concerns, in most of a company, and most of doesn't matter really the size, but obviously the bigger the size, the bigger the data set that they have, because the data that we have internally is our differentiator. And so what I put on the right, it's based on the pyramid of Maslow, which is explaining that, the data science hierarchy of needs is really first, you need to collect right away the right way the information. If you don't have the right instrumentation, the right way to collect this information, you can't do anything, right? People are trying to jump directly at the AI or deep learning. They're trying to learn, they're trying to do like models, machine learning models. They're trying to do all of that, but they're not going through the different step. Yes, Dinesh?
So just want to sort of adding a point and asking a question, Phil. So
sure.
Before even collecting the data, is it something that digital transformation has to happen in the company?
So that's the thing. One thing I didn't say about digital transformation is that there is a misconception about what is digital transformation. So when you look at it, there is 3 steps to digital transformation. The first one is digitization. So which means that, giving you an example, if you think about land management, most of the country worked on maps, right? Huge maps and all that. And so digitization is taking those maps and putting it in computers. So that's the first step. That's really simple. You went from doing things on paper to doing things electronically. So that's the first step. Then after that, you have the digitalization. So digitalization means that the process that goes around these papers, so for example, updating the map, getting access to it and everything, is done digitally. So which is something, again, different. So the fact that you have digitized in the first step, help you then after that go to the second step, which is changing the process on the way you work. And finally, you reach digital transformation. And so digital transformation is finding new business models. It's finding a new culture. It's finding, using the data a certain way. So most of the time, the company right now are collecting data. Most of the time, the companies have, different data sets. They have different data lakes inside the company. So digital transformation is not needed to get the data. However, if you want to reach digital transformation, so if you want to use this data to create new services, to create new product, to create new processes, to improve also the services inside the company, you need to understand the data life cycle. Everybody knows, I think, around the call, the product life cycle, where the different stage a product goes through. But I think in the data life cycle, this is where it's still not approached in the same way, and it's something that needs to be understood also. Does that answer your question, Dinesh?
Yes, Philip. Yeah.
And so this is why I'm showing the kind of this pyramid of Maslow, because it's something that needs to be understood. If you talk to your management, for example, what is the point in trying exactly what you said, Dinesh? You have some company that are trying to put AI, but the problem is that since they didn't put the strat before, they didn't understand the data, they didn't do understanding what is their business model, understanding all the steps that I just explained to be transformed digitally. There is nothing supporting that change, right? And so this is why on the left I put the 5 steps, which is quality data foundation, data processing, analytical insight, decision making, and then it becomes a competitive advantage. AI is not just a competitive advantage because you use AI. You need the 4 steps before for it to become a competitive advantage in your company. And so, and I will go even more, on our role, as a product leader, as a digital leader. I talk about digital leader because for me, it's not necessarily people that are in product. It can be people that are in other position. But one of the things is obviously the iterative development. So from, the goal is to have real-time feedback, rapid prototyping, risk management, and continuous improvement. It's kind of a virtuous circle we want to go through. And I will explain that a bit further afterwards. Another strategic implication, as I said, is consumer expectation. So we are in a mass customization market where we provide products for the mass, but it's hyper specialized to someone. This is why, the experience that you have with one product is not the same that someone in your family, for example. They don't see the same movies. They don't see the same, offers that they have, whatever tools that you use, because it's based on you. And then you have an immediate response and meeting new demands. This is what happened from a consumer perspective. And so I talk about the digital leader because, and this is also the basis of a book that I'm writing, which is around driving digital innovation and literacy at the organization within their own network. And so for me, there is 3 aspects to that. There is digital expertise, which is around, continuous learning, tech savvy, data-driven decision-making, and all that. True productivity, which is around proactivity, efficiency, outcome-driven and innovation. And finally, people mastery, because at the end of the day, we're still working with people. We spend more than 70% of our time talking to people, and we need to convince them in what we are doing. So this is why we need to build authority. We need to understand the psychology of people and understanding ourselves to be able to become a digital leader, which is in the middle of this diagram. And so AI in product management, and as I said, interrupt me as much as we want. Like right now, we're going to dive a bit more down on what the product manager is going to do, or at least what in products is going to change. What you can see is that if you look at one definition that is from Harvard Business Review, it's bridging the technical expertise of data engineers and data scientists with the operational expertise of marketing, supply chain, manufacturing, risk, and other managers. And so you have the AI PM between the AI implementation and the product management. And so in terms of role, the responsibility of an AI PM is first understanding AI, so which means grasping the basics of AI, machine learning algorithm, and also the data requirement to make them effective. So I will talk about the data a bit after. Aligning AI with business goals, so which means answering AI initiatives serves business objectives and not just for the sake of technology. So the goal is not to put AI just to put AI. It's that there is an interest in the business for that. Stakeholder collaboration. So this is something that we know. We have to handle stakeholders in that. We have to handle expectation And there is a harder part also in that I will talk a little bit after, which is the problem with AI is that we go from a deterministic mindset of a traditional PM to a probabilistic mindset. What it means is that certainly if you put AI inside your business right now, is not going to have the quality that you expect, because it's the first iteration, and you need to learn from that, and you need to get more traffic, to get more data, to make it better. And people, unfortunately, still expect that it's not because you work in machine learning, or it's not because you work with AI, they still expect something to work right away. They still expect to be blown away, And that's why, the stakeholder collaboration is really important. Then you have everything around ethics that we have to obviously navigate inside that. So being, we need to understand the implication of using AI and ensuring that product, are built the right way. And I will talk about some example of that didn't work quite well. And finally, continuous learning and iteration, which is so AI is ever evolving, obviously, with what is happening, and so we must stay updated with that. And so we have a change, for example, in the life cycle. So on the left, is a traditional life cycle. We have an introduction, of a product. Then it goes through a growth, maturity, and then a decline. What we are seeing is more of a virtuous cycle. So it's something that I found, but I explain it in different ways. But basically, what we have is that we have data. Then we see opportunity, we see risk. We go through this step where we understand all of that, and we create, model and infrastructure and operation. We change all of that, which in returns brings more customer, which means more user, which means more data, and these go on and so forth. So the more user you have, the better the experience will be, and obviously it takes a lot of investment for that. And so the opportunity for us is that, first of all, we can have enhanced product capability. So we can upgrade all our product features, which is really great. We do data-driven decision-making, so which means that we use AI to do data analysis. So we use this capability to make informed decision. So which is also really interesting, because we're not relying on our gut feeling to do things. We're relying on AI for that. Innovative solutions. So AI opens avenue for creating unique, never before seen solution. Efficient resource allocation. Increase market share. Obviously, as you have seen, there is multiple example globally that shows that AI is helping you gaining market share. And I take example obviously from the pharmaceutical. But not just that, like being efficient in what you do help you increase your market share, because you have a product that the most that fit the most the user needs. So this is what happened, and people talk about it, and you have like kind of this referral that is coming out of it. So you have a flywheel that is automatically happening. Obviously, agile product development. So with more feedback, with better data-driven decision, our iterative development become faster, and we know how to improve it. And ethical leadership. So PMs can guide business in ensuring AI is used responsibly. And so what does it mean, when you look at the process? So what I wanted to give you, is not just talking about, what is AI and all that, and that's cool, but also like what can it mean for you and how you can apply it. And I will explain afterwards, an example of that. And so you go, I don't know if you heard about the dual track agile process, which is basically you have a discovery and then you have implementation, so the delivery that is happening, in separate. And so this allows you to basically work on the discovery, and while you work on the discovery, you're prototyping and seeing what works, and then you're delivering the feature as you go. What you're seeing in AI is that you need another track. And so this is why I talked a bit here about the triple track agile process, which is you still have a discovery that is generally done by UX and PMs, so validation of ideas. You have a data track, so which is used with a data engineer to validate the ideas and being sourced. And finally, you go to a delivery, which is the exploration and modeling. That's the three aspects that you get now. And if you want to implement the implementation, you need to implement this kind of process. And so, giving you an example, when I was in Michelin, we started to work on an AI. And so one of the first things that we did is basically what I said to you earlier. I had an idea, which is like, we had a lot of vehicles inside Europe. We have more than 300,000 vehicles, more of 20 years of data. And one of the goals was just to say, okay, like, we're going to try to define, we're going to try to predict how much a vehicle is going to consume if you buy it for what you're doing. It was pretty simple at the beginning. We wanted to go really far, but at the beginning, we wanted to prove that we had the data to do that. And so this was just saying, okay, like, people will be interested to know which car they should buy. And so we went through that. But the first thing that we did was I worked with an architect on the data to be able to see if we had the data to do that, to see if we were capable to do that. And the first thing that we saw as we were doing it and how we were doing it inside the data is that the data was not clean. So exactly what I told you earlier. We could have gone, oh yeah, let's use the data that we have and let's try to build the model right away. But we went from the first step, which is, okay, we need to clean the data. Then after that, we saw that we were missing data. So the good thing that we have is that the architect that built the platform is that they built it so well that we could come back in time and reprocess all the data and enrich the way we wanted. But it was the first step that we needed to do. And just this part was here, what you can see in the data track, so which is in the middle, right? So it was a back and forth between the discovery and the data track to say, like, this is the data that we have. How can we transform it? Once we knew that, this is where we can go in delivery. But the delivery at the beginning was just changing this life cycle, enriching the data, cleaning up the data. It was just that. We haven't started working on any prediction. And so once we had the data clean and we know how it was clean, we could come back and work on the second step. And we did that, iteratively until we had like the data that we want. So as you can see, in this example that I did is that I took through the pyramid that I told you about. We knew we had the data, but we had a problem that it was not clean. So we had to come back, one step to see the way we were collecting the data, how we can enrich it, and then go from there and build on that. And so this is like the triple track agile process. And some people will say, yeah, but if it's a triple track, it's not agile. And I kind of argue with that because I don't believe agile should be just for the engineers. It shouldn't be just for the software engineer. It should be for everyone. Just at your level, what does it mean for you to be agile versus the data track? What does it mean to be agile? And the delivery, what does it mean to be agile? And working like that works way much faster because if you wait for the delivery to see what happens, you're gonna wait a lot of time to be able to validate information. And so if we continue, like obviously the new responsibility are still the product vision and strategy, but integrating AI. Now you have in your head also the product data strategy. And so this is something that were not in the end of a product manager before. So which means that, when we talk about data strategy is that you need to do a lot of things. So which means that, for example, you will have to negotiate contract with external supplier to acquire data. You will need to work with your other teams. You will need to work with your team to create new feature for the product, to acquire data. You will need to develop instruction on how to review and label the data also. So giving you an example, again, I'm taking the example of Netflix because it's easy, but all their movies are going through a tagging company. But what they do is that they take the movie and they label based on the instruction that was given so that way it can be fit to the AI that they have. And so this is something that is needed because at a certain point, you will need to say as a PM, okay, this is what we want to create. This is the type of data that we need. This is what needs to go inside the engine. But the problem is that you may not going to do that because, there is way too much data to handle. So it's not your responsibility for that. But you need to be capable to give instruction on how it should be handled. And so this is all new responsibility that we didn't have before. And this is part of the digital expertise that I was talking about. Understanding the data, understanding, how to get the data, understanding how to process the data, and understanding how to say to other people why the data is important and being sure that, in terms of availability, confidentiality, integrity of this data, you have it all to be able to feed the system with the right information. The rest afterwards like becomes a bit more easier, because once you have a good data, what you need to understand is that in there, then the AI driven product management, it's kind of a transformative role. There is opportunity for growth, and the skill sets and all that, like the future about that, and what you get in terms of in transformation like that inside companies is that you have plenty of opportunities for you, because every role inside the company will need that. So whether it's sales, whether it's customer success, whether it's support, they will need that. And that's the interesting part in that, because you will be capable to support all those teams, and you will be capable to do what they can do. And so you have like new leaders that are appearing, inside the business, that are not part of a product team, but are part of a different teams, that are working more towards the product internally, that have more facing client facing or strategy facing role, that are right now evolving their skills to be able to become those type of digital leaders. And here I feel like there is a big opportunity with people that are already inside the field, because we have already all the knowledge that come with us before. We just need to evolve our skills to be capable to talk to the business. That's the only thing that we need to do. And we need to be able to talk to the business because the data is coming from the business. So if we don't understand what we're trying to do, it becomes really hard. And so we have a lot of challenges that come from that. One of the first one is balancing tech and customer needs. It still stays the same that a lot of companies, are trying to push technology without necessarily thinking at what they want and what they need. I know that, for example, there are certain pharmaceuticals that were still working in the traditional way, that are hiring, AI and data scientists to be able to do something, inside the business. But what is funny is that they're like kind of put aside the business, and people don't know what they're doing, and people don't know, it's another type of culture in all compared to the traditional pharmaceutical market. So obviously this gives a lot of challenges, because we have to focus on what the user wants. This is what we need to focus on. And obviously there is plenty of companies that are doing that. For example, Spotify or all the music providers, that are using AI to provide you with a playlist that you will love. The Discover Weekly, or the kind of station that we built for you. YouTube is doing that also, when they're trying to predict, which is the next video that you want to see based on your mood. So this is the kind of thing that is happening there. And so it's important to stay in that aspect. Then the technical complexity. So I explained that a little bit earlier, is that there is diverse challenge that is brought by AI, whether it's by doing the model of deployment, there is unpredictability, uncertainty, ambiguity that is inside, that field. And so it's something that we have to communicate. It's something that we have to agree on also personally, because it means that nothing is straightforward. So, for example, even building a roadmap can be really difficult in that role, because you don't know if you have access to your own data. You don't know what is the state of the data. There is a lot of unknowns, and you don't know what is going to be the result. So you have an objective, you have a vision, and you have a goal. The problem is how you're going to go there, and being sure that you're going to be. It's not a straight path, and so this makes it really hard to communicate. This makes it really hard also to live on a daily basis. And also the problem is that nobody is waiting for you. So you will get the pressure again from the market, because the market is moving fast. You will get the pressure again from the organization that you need to move fast. So it's how you balance also those two things. Data quality and confirmation bias. As I said, the problem of AI success come from the quality of the data. If the data is not good, it's gonna be a problem. One of the biggest problem, I think I saw that from research, is that in banks and all that, like they were saying that they didn't believe that the quality of data was high enough, and so that even companies like that have huge amount of data, and it's their competitive advantage. It's one of the biggest problem that they have, which is cleaning up all of that and making sense of all those kind of things. What you're seeing that works, for example, in digital transformation is building a team that is responsible of all the data. So building a service inside the company that is just responsible for data, being able to gather all this data and building other services on top of it. So what I mean by that is the fact that everyone in the organization is using different type of data, but all this data doesn't talk to each other necessarily. And so what is important is making it, at the bottom of the organization to support everything. Unfortunately, what you see also is that generally these data teams are, instead of being put under a strategic level, they're put directly under the product team or the technology. And this is another problem that you see. And so it's, again, the role of a leader to go there and explain, okay, like, I understand that we want to do that, and you need to do that at your own, level, but you need to explain how your data can support also the rest of the business, and you need to explain how what you're doing can support the rest of the business. And finally, the last one is the ethical consideration. And so we have seen in the past, like various companies, like, for example, I don't know if you know Clearview AI. So they do a face recognition system. And so basically every data that is taken, everything, like every picture and all that is taken, they could find you. So if someone is taking a selfie of himself at the gym, and you are behind it, and this photo is published on social media, and they're looking to find you, Clearview can find you on this picture. So it provides concern about privacy, provide concern about what is really ethical and all that, and how based on the confirmation bias also, how we are sure that we are providing a service that gives the right value, but at the same time respect user privacy and data rights. So it gives way more responsibility to a PM, gives way more responsibility to a digital leader on all that. And I think we covered pretty much everything that I have here. So do you have any question for me? Even if it's more practical or more, I wanted to